Welcome to the Marketing Revolution podcast. This is the underground movement of savage marketers from all over the world. We are not Fortune 500 companies. We are real entrepreneurs with real businesses that have one major thing in mind: to set goals and devour them daily. Because we understand that everyone wants to eat, but only savage marketers are willing to do the hunt. Now let's get this revolution started. Hey, what's up, everybody? John Hiley here with the Marketing Revolution podcast and the Marketing Savage Facebook group, coming to you today with another podcast with your co-host that be bringing the most, Angela motherfucking Hiley.
That's so nice of you.
Yeah, about lost track of my intro there because I was trying to view my audio coming in here, but the fucking computer keeps on popping up multiple things that are covering my audio bars. But I'm a fucking professional. I recover.
Oh my God.
And that is what professionals do. So here I am doing the intro with my face and then fixing all this shit on the computer with my hand.
You're funny.
Only something a professional could do.
You know, I wonder if people are like, I can't believe she calls her husband a dork. He looks nothing like a dork.
Yeah, because even Dan Ward said on the last podcast that I was savage.
Yes, you are. Yeah, you're very savage. You're very...
It makes sense.
Very manly.
That's why I be doing the marketing savage movement.
Yeah.
Because I be savage.
But you have a very mushy heart, so...
Very, very mushy.
Very mushy.
Very mushy.
So mushy that somehow you pulled it off and got my kitchen table a lot sooner than when it was supposed to be.
That's correct, man. Y'all remember, I don't know, it was probably about a month or even a little bit longer.
January.
Yeah, it was like in the end of January. I had a podcast talking about that dipshit salesman that we bought this kitchen table off of, and how he just wouldn't shut the fuck up when I was trying to like just buy the table. And then we were kind of like, I was talking about how he was so worried that it was going to take until, at that time they said it was going to be delivered around Valentine's Day.
So it's going to be like 3 weeks.
It would have been like 3 weeks, and that's what it said on our paperwork and all that shit, right? So fast forward 6-8 weeks later, we still didn't have a table.
6 weeks later.
Yeah, so 6 weeks later, we still didn't have a table.
Nope.
And she would call them occasionally, and at first it was really not a big deal. We're just like, whatever, it'll get here when it gets here.
Yeah.
And she would call them occasionally.
They wouldn't call me
and
back.
Then they wouldn't call her back, and then I would call in and have to talk to somebody. And the last time that I called in was a couple days ago, and the lady literally said, she's like, okay, well, it got pushed back to like May or some shit.
May.
And I told her, I'm like, look, well, I've got, can I come in and like pick a different table or something like that, something you guys have in stock? And she said, sure. So anyhow, we end up heading over there on Friday. And then right before we walked in, I was like, kind of like my street smarts kicked in. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna see what's up in here, because I told the wifey, I said, don't say anything about that we've purchased a table here already. Whatever.
Thankfully, believe it or not, this whole mask situation.
Yeah, the mask thing works out pretty good.
It came in handy for me, because if I didn't have something over my face, I would have.
She went through like a series of emotions. Yeah. I could see her emotions through her eyes, but the salesman couldn't see it. So here's what happened. We ended up walking in there, and thankfully it wasn't the same salesman, because even with the masks on, I don't think we could have pulled that off.
That's true.
Just because of the tattoos and all the other shit.
Yeah.
So we go in there, and it's a totally different salesman. So I'm like, cool. All right. The other salesman that sold it to us wasn't there. And we walk in, and I'm like, I go over and walk over to the table that we already purchased, and I asked him, I'm like, hey, man, I want to buy this table, but I need it, right away.
Yeah.
So he's like, okay, well, we probably have it in stock. Let me go check. So he goes and checks. He comes back, and he says, yep, we got your table in stock.
And that was the table that we ordered.
And we were still waiting all of this fucking time, right?
And all of a sudden, my blood started.
Yeah, her blood started to
bubbling.
boil, but I didn't say a word at that point. I wanted to get him in it, right? Actually, I kind of wanted to get him backed in a corner. So their desk is sitting over there in a corner. So I just told her, I'm like, I just kind of looked at her. I'm like, don't say anything. And we end up walking back. We sit down at his desk, and he's getting everything, typed up on his computer, like he's getting ready to sell me some shit. He just literally got the easiest sell of his day, is what this guy's thinking. He's like, I'm going to type it up, and I'm going to sell this guy a fucking table. Mm-hmm. So anyhow, he's over there working on typing it up, and then I pull the receipt out of my pocket, and I smack it down on his desk, and I say, well, hey, I already bought it, so we want to go ahead and get it now. And this dude, he looked like a fucking, he's seen a ghost. He literally looks like he sees a ghost. And he picks up my receipt. He goes, oh, I see. And he goes, so you already bought that table? And I'm like, yeah, that's what I said, and I want to pick it up. And he goes, well, hold on. Let me go talk to my manager. So he goes and he leaves. And we're sitting at this desk. And the store manager ends up coming back, coming over there. The owner comes over there, right? So at that point, the owner's not wearing a mask. I know that you can go in that place without a mask, but we purposely went in there with one, So I pulled down the mask, kind of introduced myself to him. I let him know as he was sitting there fucking mumbling around, talking his bullshit. He actually tried to say that he thought on the top of his head that he had it but wasn't sure.
Yeah.
So they got some sort of fucking scam going on over there.
And obviously they're using COVID as...
Yeah, so he started every bullshit fucking excuse anybody could possibly use. The manufacturers aren't sending as much to COVID. He's lucky that he has so much on his floor plan, on his floor, and all this. Every fucking bullshit excuse you could possibly think of was coming out of this guy's mouth.
Yeah.
And I told him, I'm like, well, look, man, you can either give me a refund, and the floor model was really nice. I actually really wanted this table. We're sitting at it right now.
Yep.
It's a really nice table.
Yep.
And I believe that we got it at a pretty decent price. Mm-hmm. But I told him, I'm like, well, man, if you don't have it in stock, either you need to give me a fucking refund or you need to give me that floor model. And he goes on like, well, usually we don't do the floor model, da-da-da. And then he goes, but in this case, in this situation, I will.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, motherfucker. That's because I caught you on whatever ridiculous little... I don't know if they were trying to scam people, like trying to get people to pay for some shit.
Yeah.
And then tell them that they didn't have it in stock and string them along. Mm-hmm. Or if they actually did have it in stock and they were trying to sell the things that they had in stock to people that walked in.
Yeah.
And then keep pushing people.
Depending if they could wait for it or not.
Yeah, depending on if they could wait for it or not. And the people that could wait for it, they would basically keep kicking them down the road.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And who knows? Maybe they were trying to get past the point where somebody could dispute the fucking charge.
That is true.
They could have been kicking the ball down the road trying to get past that point. But in all honesty, it's a fucking learning lesson for me because, number one, this furniture store is in a nice area of town.
Yeah, and the majority of their Google reviews are good.
But the ones that are bad are usually what I'm talking about right here.
Yes.
Either that or the people that are delivering the product into the home.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But I basically just went in there and street hustled them.
Yes, you did.
I caught them in a lie. Trapped him in a corner.
Their hand was caught in the cookie jar.
But there's some sort of shit going on over there that it's fucked up.
Yeah, that's true.
So now we're sitting here with our kitchen table. It was a little bit later. Like I said, we really didn't give a shit for the longest time. But then eventually we're like, holy shit. I mean, we bought a brand new kitchen table. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't cheap. I mean, it wasn't like I know there's these places out there. I don't really go shopping at furniture stores where you got to pay like $5,000 or $7,000 for a table and $10,000 for a couch. I just don't fucking really get that shit. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make any sense to me. But it was an expensive table. I think we paid like $1,200, $1,300 for it.
Yeah.
And I got, actually it was like $1,399, and then I got them down to $1,099 when we purchased it. So ended up being about $1,100. Actually, I didn't even get them down to that. If you guys remember on my previous podcast, it was the salesman that kept Jewing himself down.
That's true.
So the salesman
and
kept...
here, I thought he was a nice person.
Yeah. So the salesman's the one that kept dropping the price because... I don't know. I normally, I mean, I know that there's certain things you can negotiate on. I will tell you one thing you can negotiate on is jewelry.
You told this story.
Yeah, I cannot believe how negotiable jewelry is. I mean, especially, I mean, you're not going to be able to negotiate if you go in somewhere like Costco that only, you know, I don't know if any of you guys know this, but Costco, I think they can only sell up to a certain percent over the price they pay for the product.
Yeah.
So they only got like a certain percentage. They can sell above that by law because they're a membership store. So, you know, you can't negotiate there. But a lot of these little stores that you go into in the mall and stuff like that, they are more than fucking willing to negotiate. Oh, and especially on diamonds. I mean, I go in there, there's like a $7,000 set of diamond earrings. They're telling me if I got 3 G's, I can walk out with it. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, think about the dumb motherfucker that walks in and pays $7 for that shit.
I know, right?
You know, and then they probably go to the pawn shop, and the pawn shop be like, yeah, that's worth like $250. That's the way that shit happens with jewelry.
I know, right?
Especially diamonds.
Huh.
Yeah. So me and her got that done, got that out of the way, and we are actually doing this on Sunday because last night, me and her, we had some Indian food, and we planned on going and doing the podcast.
Really bad.
Really good, actually, because
I
like it when that happens.
No, it's disgusting. I feel like I'm just like smothered in shit, and it's just like horrible.
It's just entertaining for me.
It makes me feel dirty, and I'm not dirty.
It's very entertaining for me.
It is entertaining for you, but not me. I don't see how the dogs can just sit there. Like, it doesn't even bother them.
Because dogs, things that smell horrible, smell good to dogs.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, that's why they sniff each other's asses. I mean, would you go sniff a dog's butt? That's like the most...
I think I have. I'm pretty sure of being a dog mom.
You've sniffed a dog's butt?
Well, I think to make sure there was like nothing on it.
Oh, God. I can't believe you just said that. So she sniffs a dog's ass to make sure there's nothing on it.
I think
like what's going through your head when you sniff a dog's butt?
I think it was like Lily. I made sure she had poop on her butt and I wiped it off. And I think I like smelled it just to make sure.
You sniffed her butt to make sure there was no more poop on there? You couldn't get that from visuals? You couldn't visually get that? Or you,
I don't know. It just happened.
You rubbed a cloth on it and you couldn't, like...
Shut up.
There wasn't nothing coming off on the paper anymore? Like...
I should have said that.
Do you do that to your own butt, like after you wipe it, just to make sure you got it wiped really good?
No. But if you think about it, like as a mom in general,
you sniffed John's butt after you wiped it.
Well, no, like if you think.
So let's get the logic on this.
Okay, listen. So John, when he's a baby and he was in diapers, you know, like sometimes you'd like pick your baby up and be like, oh man, you pooped. Okay, so now you need to go and change your diaper.
But would you do that after you wiped it?
Wait a minute, after I changed Jonathan's diaper?
Yeah. Would you give him a sniff after that? Well, then why would you sniff the dog's butt?
I don't know, John. I'm sure. Listen, I'm
sure she wants to move on from this one.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's probably his. Well, you remember what I had to do to Noah, our one dog that we had? Well, that was horrible.
I'll tell you guys what happened to me when I went to Dallas. I basically got drugged while I was there.
No, we don't need to talk about that.
What, me getting drugged while I was there? No. I basically did. It wasn't that bad, though. No, we actually
gave John a couple gummies, and he didn't think it was going to affect him that bad.
Yeah, because you know what? Because let me tell you why. It was our dude Tony, but let me tell you why. Because he was like, we literally, and I'm not going to say Tony's last name, so we could tell the story, but we literally, he's staying at the Omni, and which is outside of the, if you guys know, kind of like the Frisco, Texas area, the Omni Hotel is pretty fucking dope hotel, man, and it's right outside of the practice stadium for the Dallas Cowboys. So the Dallas Cowboys got what's like a fucking badass like practice stadium that literally literally has full size football field in their front yard
where everybody can go.
And then it has they got some really nice restaurants around there, and they got some shopping. It's just a fucking cool place. They got like this club called the Concrete Cowboy that we went into.
Yeah.
So we go in the Concrete Cowboy, and then Tony and Trevor end up coming out. So we walk back to Tony's hotel room because she wants to smoke some weed with him. And
hey, it was my birthday.
Yeah. So we go up there, and he's got every kind of fucking weed you can possibly imagine. He flew here with it, and because he lives in California, so I'm thinking they don't check your bags out there or something like that.
Probably don't.
And has every kind of fucking weed possible. All these different what are them things called, like pens.
The vapes or something like that?
All these different types of cookies and all these treats. So he tells me, he's like, hey man, have one of these gummy cubes. And I'm like, nah man, I'm good. He goes, man, it's mainly CBD. It's just got a tiny bit of THC in it,
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. So I ate one of them. He goes, eat two. So I ate two of them. And then he tries to hand me this bag of cookies. And he's like, here, try one of these. And I'm like, no, man, I'm good. And our other buddy looks at the bag of cookies. He goes, oh, that's got 10 milligrams in it. That'd probably kind of fuck you up. And I'm like, well, yeah, exactly. That's why I'm not eating them. And then he goes and looks at the cubes that he gave me. And he goes, oh, these only got 5 milligrams in them each, right? So I'm like, oh, shit, well, I just ate 2 of them. Does that mean 2 of them are going to fuck me up? And so we ended up leaving his room, going back to the Concrete Cowboy, and about then is when I could feel that shit kicking in, And I'm just like...
This is not John's jam at all.
Yeah, everything just seems like it slowed the fuck down, man. I felt calm.
Yeah.
I felt calm. I felt like I could, feel people's energy a little bit better.
Yeah.
And by the time we got to the Concrete Cowboy, there was all kinds of folks from... there was 2 dinner parties. We went with one group, and then there was another group that had them. So the other group, everybody we know was already there at the Concrete Cowboy, and we walk in, and I'm just feeling this shit creeping up, but I'm having a good time.
Yeah.
It was cool. It was good times, right? And
so what do you mean by slow? Because I don't think that's ever happened. I've never experienced the slow motion thing.
I just say that it made me feel a little bit more tired. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Just a little bit drowsy, I would say, is the way that I felt.
Okay.
And so we ended up hanging out there, kicking it with everybody, whatnot. It was a good time, fun times. And then everybody started to split, and we ended up heading out. And then 2 of our dudes that left way earlier was still waiting for their fucking Uber. So I'm like, dude, you guys are basically going where we're going, so we'll go ahead and give you a ride. So they jump in, and we're in with, it was me, her, and it was Kale and Trevor from the Real Business Owners podcast. You'll check it out here on iTunes. And they're fucking cool motherfuckers, man. They got a really good podcast as well. And then who is is it Daniel Blue? I think his name's Daniel Blue, who was in there with us as well.
That was the first time I've met him.
Yeah, and he's from the Las Vegas area.
Yes.
And so we're all riding back.
Yep.
And, man, I'm starting to get, high as fuck on the ride back. I think I was going, 40 miles an hour on the highway.
Here's the thing. The way John was driving, he was so extra cautious. And I'm thinking, I think he's high. But then I was like, I'm not going to say anything.
I didn't say anything about it.
Because I didn't want to say anything to him because I didn't want to, freak him out or make him paranoid.
Yeah, so we're driving back, and we get in the craziest, most in-depth conversation about this shit that a shaman had told Trevor about these cells in our body, and how we've got when we're born we have 70% like happy cells and 30% angry cells, and then somehow like if we don't feed the happy cells, the angry cells take over, and then somehow the angry cells will eat part of the happy cells until eventually like the angry cells start feeding off the happy cells until the point to where people will literally wake up every day of their life just like fucking angry.
That's true.
And the funny thing was, I really wish I could have recorded that conversation because the way that Trevor broke that down was fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Like to listen to the way that it was like, it was down to like this such a molecular structure of how this worked, right? And it was just, we were just all like amazed, right? Mm-hmm. And then as we're going back, they told some real nasty story. I cannot remember what the story was.
But it was hilarious.
But it reminded me of another story that and we realized that I have never told this story on this podcast.
And John's like, oh, I got one for you. And I'm like, oh no, here we go.
Yeah. So we realized that I had never told this story on this podcast. I'm pretty sure that we've told it on the previous podcast. Yeah. But you probably have to go dig through massive amounts of episodes to find this story.
Yeah.
So we thought, why not tell it on this podcast? So, because it's so funny when I was telling Trevor, Kale, and Daniel, they were like all three trying to get they were just like, oh God, no, oh. And
it got really loud out there too.
Yeah, it's pretty hilarious. So, I'll tell it.
Okay.
So back in the day, I used to head over to the shop, and I would actually do a little. Many of you guys know this, because many of you guys do a little manscaping. You know what I mean? I get out and go over there and mow the lawn. Let's just say.
Yes, because I told John he's not going to be doing this at home. He needs to go over to the shop and do this.
Basically, shaving my balls. Okay.
Oops.
Come on, guys, quit. It's a dog fight over there.
Yes.
So basically, shaving my balls over at the shop, right? So one weekend I go over there and I shave my balls and I clean it up and everything like that. And this might have been a couple days later because we had all these trash cans around our shop and shit like that. Mm-hmm. And one of my old employees, some of you guys may have been around or listened to me long enough to remember Julio. He was in a couple of my early videos, stuff like that. And so anyhow, this is a body shop, and he loses a key to one of the cars, right? You know, so I'm basically, like, go find the fucking key, dude. Like, you lost the key. Where is it? Find it. And so he's just looking. He's looking up and down all over the shop, just trying to find the key, And I come out of my office, and he's digging around in the trash can, and I walk over there, and he's digging through my pubes. And he thinks that he threw it away. He thinks that he threw it away in the trash can.
Does he pick like a heel?
He has him like, and he's digging around with his hands and shit. And he's just like, "What is this, man?" And I just look at him and say nothing, turn around and walk away.
Oh, my stomach's hurting.
You know what Daniel Blue said that reminded him of? He said that reminded him of, I guess there was a Jackass episode where they all shaved their balls, and they talked that dude into making like a beard, and they ended up gluing their pubic hairs to his face.
Oh, my.
So next thing you know, like after he had them all glued to...
I wonder if they used
Yeah, they used like some strong glue.
Did they use like super glue?
Like some really strong glue.
Oh.
And he had pubes like glued all over his face. It was terrible.
Did they like proportion it out to where it made it actually look like a decent beard?
I think it looked like a beard, yeah, but there was like some going in his mouth and stuff.
Well, they probably did some of that stuff on purpose.
So Julio, I don't think Julio got it that bad, but he was digging through my pubes, so.
Yeah, but here's the thing. When you seen him digging through that trash can, what were you thinking?
I was just thinking, I was like, oh, shit. I was like, oh, no.
And when he picked him up and he was like, what is this? I mean, like, were you holding back?
It was terrible.
Were you holding back laughter?
I was just shocked. No, I was just shocked. Because, you were at the point where I totally forgot that happened. And, he just loses the keys, and of course he's going to try to find them.
Oh, dear Lord.
Oh, and the funniest thing is that the keys somehow was under the car. So, like, where the car was sitting, if you would, like, go under the car, like, where the motor is, and just, like, drop the keys just a little bit under the car, somehow Julio dropped them under the car a little bit.
Do you think what it was is, like, you couldn't process it? And then, what was it, maybe after he left or something? Did you sit back and have, like...
Yeah, and it just turned into a really good story. Well, it turned into like one of them things where I told everybody, but Julio never found out. So like even
like
when
your brother Bill, remember?
Yeah, like even when people came in, you know, I'd pull them off to the side and be like, "Hey, let me tell you something." And you know, Julio would be over there on the other side of the shop, and we'd all be over there laughing at something. And he would come walking over, and we just all, you know, we're like, "Well, nothing." Yeah. So like I would just tell everybody,
John.
That's the way you do it. Anybody who knows, who's been involved in any kind of automotive shop or something like that, would know that that's just pure fucking gold.
Yeah, that is gold.
So.
That's gold.
And you just kind of enjoy fucking with each other. I mean, you know, it's just the way it is in that environment.
Do you think Raphael was like, he realized that he got a hold of it, he picked up something he shouldn't have?
I think that he might have thought it was my beard hair, you know, like it was from my beard is what I think he thought it was. But it's still like, why the fuck would you dig through hair? You know what I mean? That was his fucking thing.
I know. I think any like normal person wouldn't. I mean, if I seen hair in the trash can, I'm like, I'm not touching that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No,
but
I know
maybe
exactly.
he was just like panicking, and he couldn't, panicking because like he didn't know what he did with the key.
Yeah.
So he's probably freaking out. Oh shit. Oh.
So.
What do you think the lesson is from that story?
Don't dig through a fucking trash can full of pubic hairs.
Oh my goodness. Whew. That's a good laugh.
Shit, girl. I think this is a good podcast right here. Okay. I don't think we need to top it off any further than what we just did right now.
That's good.
I believe we've taught a lesson in life.
Yes. We might have been
it's kind of
late, but not $1 short.
Don't piss in the wind and don't dig through a fucking trash can full of pubic hairs.
Don't piss in the wind. Yeah, didn't you know somebody that pissed like really close to an electric fence and they ended up getting shocked?
I do, yeah. We talked him into doing it, actually. That's the way we did when we were kids. We're like, hey, man, go piss on that fence. Yeah.
Oh, so you talked somebody into it? They just didn't do it?
No, he did it, yeah.
Oh.
That's terrible.
That's not nice.
Piss is a conductor. It just conducted and zapped his dick.
Did he get, did it make him fall down?
Yeah, it made him fall down, yeah.
That's bad. That's bad. John Hiley.
On that note, don't piss on electric fence. So, all right, everybody, I appreciate you coming along on this Marketing Revolution podcast. Mm-hmm. Make sure to get on over to the Marketing Savage Facebook group. And as usual, I'm going to see you on that next one.
And remember, it's all about the motherfucking hustle.